Hi everyone, okay, I thought it was about time I did another Blitz video. There's a couple of things I just want to show you quickly first. One of them was just to point out to come back to Killyguard Chess. I've written a couple of articles here and I'd love it if you guys would have a read of them and tell me what you think. One of them was about the Carlson-Aronian game, which I just did the 4-part video for, and just about what happened in that game and discussing the game a bit more. And another one was about Carlson against Aronian and how their styles differ as players, and why it might be that Aronian lives in Carlson's shadow a little bit, and some other stuff, and just about chess in general. So come and check those out and have a look, and come and play some games, and some Malkovich games. So my good friend David Fitzsimons, you can see here, is rated number 12 in all of Ireland, is going to do a simultaneous Malkovich exhibition. So come and get signed up for that if you want to play it. It should be lots of fun. He's a great player, very attacking and very strong, so you'll be doing very well to beat him, and we'll be accepting at least 20 entrants into that. So come and have a look. It should all be good fun, and we may even have some prizes. We'll see how it all goes. And yeah, that's about it for what I wanted to let you know. So we'll move on to Chess Cube now and see if we can get a Blitz game. Let's see. My rating has taken a bit of a beating recently. It's looking very bad, but here we've got a game here straight away. Okay, Shihong, 1983, from America, Sicilian. Okie dokie. Immediate A6, probably going to transpose to Neudorf. Okay, stopping at B5. This is a very offbeat variation, and I have to think now for a moment. So knight B5, knight F5 is possible. I think knight F3 comes with tempo after all. Okay. Go with this. No, it's with this D5 hole. Should be able to exploit that. Played carefully. And also D6 is very weak. Okay, but there's problems with E4 at the moment. So let's just have a look. Okay, we'll go with rook E1. No way to exploit this pin immediately anyway. And we can also get a swayed or Maroxy bind, despite these pawns being doubled. Bishop's fine here, okay, except he can now play knight d4, that takes care of that. Follow up with bishop a3. I can break this pin too. In fact, I might even let him double my pawns. Okay, so bishop a3 looks good. Just for pressure, and he's gonna have pressure on c4 in return. He's giving me the bishops, and he has this hole at d5. But positionally, this looks pretty good. Yeah, okay, he's probably gonna go knight a5. Pressure here. So queen e2 looks kind of logical. Or even bishop a3 and c5 maybe. I want to get this bishop somewhere anyway. No, he doesn't have queen a5. But he can take on c3, but then I take on d6. Okay, to break this pin. Tempo? Yeah, okay. attacking the bishop. In the right square it looks like f1. Controlling this knight and protecting c4. Queen on f3 nicely maintains this point. Now I can play rook d1, play against d6. I can play a knight a5. It's probably best. But then I think I'll play rook a d1. Interesting. Apparently sacking a pawn. Alright. Must have something planned. Try rook a d1 next. So what has he got here? He should be playing for pressure against c4. Strange moves. Okay. Challenges d4. Yeah, I've got pressure on this knight too. Maybe play g3, h4. Not anymore. Okay. So yeah, you can play knight h4 now. Is that a big problem? Not really. We're trying to simplify already. Okay. It's not what I was expecting. Alright. Well, this gives me rook d6. So I need to mobilize these pawns ASAP. In fact, where's this queen going? H4. I can almost sack the exchange, but not quite. And if, yeah, okay. Well, at least I can simplify now. In fact, you can check me here. If I play g3. Which is annoying. Okay. But follow up with this. In fact, that's wrong. I should have played bishop c1. What? To back rank problem for it means I can still play that. Probably h6 is a good move. So does he have any compensation for the pawn here? Probably now, yeah. Well, he can't even take that, so bishop c5, bishop c4, sorry. Set little trap. Threaten to win 1 on e6. No, run hasn't seen the back rank threat, presumably. Hold on. No, he can't move. Just rook. 45. So if he plays h6, you know, if I move this bishop, this one is falling. Yeah. He resigns. Okay, that'll do for this video. We'll get to some analysis after a bit. Thanks very much. Okay, so let's take a closer look at that game. It started out with e4, then we had c5, the Sicilian, and now the O'Kelly variation, which I have to admit I don't know the theory behind very well, and this was made abundantly clear by my immediate d4 push, after which black scores better than white in all of the databases. Correct is to play either c3 and you know c3 Sicilian, after which this a6 move is questionable, or knight c3, just clamping down on d5 and then playing d4. I was quite surprised to find out that d4 here favors black in the resulting setup, so it's an interesting little system, this a6, and probably one worth knowing for Blitz games, as I bet 8 out of 10 players will play d4 here straight away, just going into what they believe to be mainline Sicilian. So c takes d4, knight takes d4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, and already at move 5 white has lost a tempo, although it's not as bad as it could be, as black has only used it to play a6, and white can try to exploit the d5 hole in resulting positions, and you know, perhaps this would have been a better strategy for my game. So knight c3 defending e4, and now bishop b4 taking away the defender because of the pin, and bishop d3 from me, which was a little too tight and passive and gives black an edge. Better was bishop c4 with their tactics in mind. If knight takes e4, white has queen d5, forks the knight and the f7 square, threatening mate, and forces knight d6, but now comes queen takes e5 check. Best for black is queen e7. Now queen takes e7 check, king takes e7, and white regains the pawn with an obviously better position, and that's a trick worth knowing, as it's something that crops up fairly regularly. So back to the game, bishop d3, and now I'm attacking the e5 pawn, and my opponent played d6, you know, responding in kind, simply protecting his pawn from my knight. Much better was d5, just immediately exploiting this pin and threatening d4, and more or less forcing e takes d5. If instead knight takes e5, then queen e7, attacking the knight, you know, and the best way to deal with that is bishop f4, now d4, again exploiting this pin, forces a3, but after d takes c3, a takes b4, c takes b2, rook b1, black is well ahead. He even played g5 here, nice sharp continuation. So d5 was better, and if e takes d5, then knight takes d5, and bishop d2 is correct, and then knight takes c3, b takes c3, and bishop d6, where black enjoys a small edge and has equalized with ease. I've got nothing for these doubled pawns. So d5 was the correct move here, and you know, if you look at it, it's obvious. So d6 anyway is what he played. Knight's castled, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, doubling my pawns on an open file at the cost of giving up the bishops, which is, you know, similar to Nimzo-Indian strategy. And he's also got this d5 hole, but I didn't manage to exploit that at all. So bishop g4, pinning my knight, and I played rook e1, just overprotecting e4, which again is a bit passive, like rook b1 taking control of the semi-open file with tempo. This is a threat on the b7 pawn, was better. So rook e1, then he castled, and I played c4, which is just aiming to create this bind on him playing d5, but this was suboptimal. You know, it's very tempting to play these kind of binds when you have the possibility to do so, but better was h3 again, followed up with the rook b1. For example, bishop h5, rook b1, queen c7. And you know, there's nothing too concrete for either side yet, but as the computer still preferred this, you know, to what I played, and advancing the c pawn makes it harder to defend, and especially because it's isolated on an open file, I should take care of it despite the positional temptation to create the bind. So c4, knight c6, and now c3 to stop knight d4, as I mentioned in the game, although the engine preferred bishop e3 to solve this problem. You know, just get another piece into the game, and it's a very strong piece given that there's no dark squared bishop on the black side, and e3 would be a nice square for it. So rook c8, it's a good move, just blasting down onto my isolated pawn. Now bishop a3, taking aim at d6, and knight h5. And again, the engine preferred a different move, queen a5, attacking the bishop, and if bishop takes d6, then rook f d8 with good compensation for the pawn due to the resultant tactical pressure. So knight h5, and now h3 is one of the downsides of knight h5 is that it allows me to break the pin. So bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, attacking the knight. So knight f4, and now bishop f1, just keeping the king side solid and allowing for g3 with no knight takes h3 check. So queen g5, sacking the pawn. But now the sacrifice is unsound because my queen has moved off the d file. But it was, you know, probably just a Blitz error anyway, you know, Blitz chess error. So bishop takes d6, rook f d8, and bishop a3. Perhaps better was c5, although in the game continuation black has little compensation either. So bishop a3 and knight e7. And now this is a major blunder that I noticed a moment too late. The bishop here on a3 is attacking the knight, and the queen is tied to defending it. And this means that instead of playing rook a d1, I could have played h4, which is gonna win a piece. Black has two options. One is queen takes h4. If instead queen f6 to, you know, retain the defense of this knight, now g3 is going to win a piece. If the knight moves, then queen takes f6, followed up with bishop takes e7, even if the knight goes to g6, because then we come queen takes f6, g takes f6, and h5, so it's going to win a knight. And also, if knight h3 check, because I can't take it because my queen's attacked, king g2, and you know, again, both knights are going to be hanging. He's got no way to save this knight now. If queen takes f3, king takes f3, and both knights are hanging. So instead of that, queen f6. There's also queen takes h4. Afterwards comes g3, and same problems as before. If knight h3 check, bishop takes h3, queen takes h3, bishop takes e7. And you know, either way black is losing a piece, so it was a shame I didn't see that one. So rook a d1, rook takes d1, rook takes d1, knight e g6. Presumably he felt the threat, or was simply going for an attack on my king, but white's edge is now over a pawn and a half, so it's looking good, but there's still a lot of work to do. So I played queen g3, simply aiming to exchange and go into a better endgame. So queen f6, and now rook d6 with tempo is the right move, and now white's advantage is growing further. So queen h4, allowing the queen exchange. Knight e6 was better in order to avoid the trade of queens. So queen takes h4, knight takes h4, and now c5. which I'm not 100% sure why I played, to be honest. Rook d7 is presenting black more problems. So c5, now knight e6, bishop c4, threatening to win a pawn on e6, and he fell into the trap and played knight takes c5, resigning after bishop takes c5 due to the back rank threat. Although, as I indicated, he could have simply played h6, as he can win the piece back after, if, rook d5 to protect the bishop. It can't move, or the c4 bishop's falling. So b6, rook takes c5, rook takes c5, rook takes c5, b takes c5. But endgames from here favour white strongly. So it was a nice enough game with a couple of interesting little bits, and I certainly learnt something going through it, and I hope you did too, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave any comments or thoughts. Thanks very much.